Touchdown, Tampa Bay! Touchdown, Buccaneers, Jamal D! Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Frankly Speaking Sports. And what an unbelievable show we have for you tonight. We have a lot going on. We're going to be talking the first half of the show about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's right, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, World Champion, Super Bowl champion. Oh, how does it sound, Tampa Bay fans? We'll be talking about that. We'll be hearing from the coach. We'll be hearing from a couple of players tonight. And then about 9:25, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to have Adam Kennedy, who was the 2002 American League Championship Series MVP, was on the Anaheim Angels. Back then they were called Anaheim, partly Los Angeles Angels, who knows. But nevertheless, we're going to have the great Adam Kennedy, who actually hit 3 home runs in an ALCS game during that year. So a great show for you. Second half, we'll be talking to him. We'll be talking about the trade deadline. What might some teams do? What might your Tampa Bay Rays still do? So sit back, enjoy the show. For those of you that are joining us on different platforms, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, go ahead, share this to your timeline. Hopefully you enjoyed some of those highlights that we showed you to start the show. But for those of you that are unaware of it, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2 days ago started their camp. For those of you Carolina Panther fans, they will be starting their camp tomorrow. But the Tampa Bay Bucs are 2 days in. They've had lots and lots going on. They're looking to repeat. Now, remember, folks, and I mentioned this before, and I'm not putting a damper on things, but remember, this is the Super Bowl champ Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But yet, they still have one more job to do that they did not accomplish last year. And that was winning the NFC South. The NFC South was won by the New Orleans Saints. So when you look at the whole picture, you know that this team wants to win their division and is going to do everything in their power to come back this year and win the NFC South on their way to repeating as Super Bowl champions. And I'll tell you what, when you look at that team from last year, and I said this a couple of times, yes, towards the end of the season, it was the defense. No doubt about it, the defense carried this team while it was in the playoffs and stood up and became the defense that everybody was excited about it becoming. But the other part of this team that really delivered, that was struggling the first couple of games, was the offensive line. Rookie Tristan Wirfs was incredible. And then somebody the fans were on at the beginning of the year finally turned it up a notch and became one of the best offensive linemen on the team in Donovan Smith. Let's listen to what our good buddy Bruce Arians had to say about Tristan Wirfs, about practice, about Donovan Smith, and so on today after day 2 of camp.
I think our guys right now are giving into the heat. and we got to get in shape. And not really pleased with the last 30 minutes of either practice so far. Love the fact that it gets really, really hot in the second half. It does in games too, especially here. So something we got to be better adjusted to as we get going, and making plays when we're tired and hot. Dropped way too many passes, gave up many plays at the second half of practice. Other than that, the first half of practice is outstanding, but the second half is not very good. The first group was okay. Not really sure we got that last deep ball off. It would have been close, but I don't really call sacks in that drill so that we get our kick in. Second group was not very good at all. So we'll see. We'll grade the film and watch it.
What do you tell him? Obviously, he's not happy with the last 30 minutes of practice and how hot it is. Clearly, it's not going to get colder here. So what do you tell those guys in terms of stuff?
It's all mental. It's all mental. I mean, if you didn't train here, it's your own damn fault. I mean, you knew what you're getting into. And so make sure that whatever you're doing, hydrating and take care of yourself so we don't have soft tissue injuries because of dehydration.
First, we talked to Carlton yesterday. He was talking about how motivated your corners are to be better than last year. So how much better can they be?
Oh, a lot. They're still just growing. They're all very, very young. And the more understanding they have of what they're playing and what's trying to be done to them, the better they can get. So I would think, the entire secondary can all get better, a lot better.
For all those corners in year 3 in Todd's system, can you add more complexity if you want what they want to do?
Oh, no doubt, but you still have to go back and start from the beginning. Don't forget your techniques and get your techniques honed up against some really good receivers. So, I mean, I love the battles of our wideouts versus our secondary and our tight ends versus our linebackers and safeties because they're all quality players and there's great competition. So that helps you get better. But, yeah, I think for sure, we're not going to just turn on the film and play what we played last year for sure.
Dalton said that he wants to be defeated. That's not a term you hear from the defensive back very much. You think he has that kind of ability? What would it take for him? Catching the ball?
Consistency and don't drop any, but the consistency of, one of the greatest corners I ever saw was Albert Lewis. Same length. He looks a lot like him. Albert couldn't catch. He won the title of batting balls away, but you couldn't complete anything on him. But Carlton can catch and he's getting much better at it.
We're going to talk to Donovan and Tristan. You got Tom Brady back there, right? There's a lot of anxiety with having to protect that guy anyway. But what does it mean to have two tackles that are that style that can hold up at that level?
Yeah, I hate to talk about it because there's always jinxing them. I don't jinx anybody, but yeah, they played it, especially in the playoffs. I thought Donovan raised his game to where he's always been capable of playing, and Tristan just got better and better. So yeah, I think both of those guys still have room for improvement, and communication. So far, I think our offensive line is doing. They're all veterans now. I consider Tristan a veteran, but there's good communication up front right now, and they're seeing so many different things. So that's a pleasing part.
Yeah, and it was really pleasing to see Donovan Smith and, those guys just come forward last year with Tristan Wirfs there. What an unbelievable offensive line this is turning into. But if you listen to Coach and what he's saying is he's talking about technique. We cannot lose focus on what we did last year and think we are better than we are. We have to do the same things, go back to step one, train the same way we trained, and get better and better and better. You can't add new things into a repertoire until you master the other ones. We still have things to learn. We could have more pickoffs. We could have more takeaways. There's a lot more things we can do in this game of football that we did not do last year. We now have practices before the season. We now have, I'm not a big fan of preseason games. I think you should play one, but that's just my opinion of preseason. But, it's the way it's done. But at the end of the day, week one, you got to be ready. You got a Thursday night game, I believe Tampa Bay does, versus Dallas. Then you got, and when you think of this team and the offensive weapons they had last year, think about the offensive weapons they didn't have last year. When we look at this team, remember, O.J. Howard was hurt after the first couple of games, and he was really coming on with Tom Brady early in that season. So he will be back this year. A healthy O.J. Howard to add to that repertoire of wide receivers and tight ends that you already have is just incredible. I'm really looking forward to see what OJ can do this year if they keep him around. I don't know why they wouldn't. They have all these guys back and some. And you say, Larry, and some? That's right, because now, last year you had McCoy, you had Ronald Jones, and you had Leonard Fournette. Now, let's be realistic here. Leonard Fournette turned it on in the playoffs, and he was the beast that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was hoping he would be. Tampa Bay, there was a time when Leonard Fournette was ready to say, please let me go so I can play somewhere else. Thank goodness that didn't happen, and Leonard Fournette kept working hard, and this is how he was rewarded, and rewarded was he. Now he's back. He has a chance with Ronald Jones to be an unbelievable tandem. But don't forget the pickup they got from the Cincinnati Bengals, Giovanni Bernard. Okay, this guy is a third down masterpiece for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I think Tom Brady's really, really going to like this guy a lot. This is a guy that had 416 yards rushing last year, 3 rushing touchdowns, but more impressively, Giovanni had 355 yards receiving. Now listen to this. On 47 receptions, all 3 touchdowns. But what I like about this is when he catches the ball out of the backfield. Now listen to this, Tampa Bay fans. He averages 7.6 yards per catch. So usually if he catches the ball out of the backfield, there is going to be a pretty good chance that he's going to get a first down for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the world champs have opened it up, and, there's going to be a lot of teams coming from. We talked about the NFC South, and as we get closer to the season, we'll get representatives from each teams on the phone here and do live interviews with them. We'll do it with our good buddy John Hendricks of New Orleans. I'm sure we'll do it with Desmond Johnson here in Carolina with the Panthers, and our buddy in Atlanta will get on the phone as well. So, it's a division when you look on paper and the schedule the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have, it shouldn't be difficult. But remember, folks, and we've said this before, and, both me and Big Nasty, when Big Nasty is on with me, we constantly say this. There's a reason why we play the games. In the NFL, on any given day, any given team can win. And I'll tell you what, when you look back at those playoffs games that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won last year, you just break it down, and what do you got? You had Washington, New Orleans, Green Bay, and, of course, we had Kansas City in the Super Bowl. But I thought the team that played the toughest versus the Buccaneers was the Washington Redskins with the backup quarterback who now signed a contract there. So, there's a lot of things that can happen. Football was a long season. Now it's even a longer season by one game. So, it's going to be a very interesting year. We'll do our NFL special and make predictions and decide who's going to, who we think is going to win. Last year, we picked the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, believe it or not, here on Frankly Speaking Sports. We picked them to win the Super Bowl, but we picked them to win versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that was looking pretty good for a while. As you remember, the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think, rattled off 12 consecutive wins. before having a major breakdown and losing in the first round of the playoffs. So, our people know what they're saying when we talk about football here. So we'll make sure to get those people on. Once again, for you Carolina Panther fans tuning in, the Panthers open up their training camp tomorrow with a much better defense, a young defense that they're looking really excited to, with an old veteran, my buddy AJ Bowie, playing on that team. And we're going to try to get AJ on if we can. We're going to ask the Panthers for permission and possibly get him on in the next couple of weeks to talk about this Carolina team. But this is also a Carolina team right now, Sam Darnold as quarterback. So we'll talk a lot more about Sam Darnold, what we should expect from this Carolina Panther team in the upcoming shows. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans, you're going to have to beat out this this team from not North Carolina, New Orleans. I'm sorry, guys. I moved here, so I keep saying North Carolina. The Saints. We don't know who the quarterback for New Orleans is going to be yet. Is it going to be Jameis Winston? Is it going to be Taysom Hill? I will say it right now. I will say it live on the air. This is the first time I'm going to say it on the air, and I might say it many more times leading up. But now you got to remember, it is an if here because we don't know who the starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints is going to be. We can sit here and debate who we think it should be. I think it should be Jameis Winston in New Orleans, some other people. But I'm telling you what, look out for him to have a tremendous season there if he does win the starting quarterback. And I wouldn't be surprised if, remember, even Tom Brady had difficulty at first under the system with Bruce Arians. Obviously, Jameis Winston did as well. I like to see what he does with Sean Payton in New Orleans. And I think you might be surprised if this guy could possibly become comeback player of the year if he gets the opportunity there. With the right coach, you never know. Only time will tell. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we said we were going to talk about some football. Then I told you we were going to talk about some baseball. And we are going to talk about the trade deadline in depth. We're going to have a very special guest coming on with us. But before we introduce him and before we have him come on, let's watch this clip that I put together. Well, I didn't put together. I stole it.
Third, Mays, AK rips one into right field. Dustin Moore to the wall. It's gone. A home run for Adam Kennedy, and the Angels are on the board. Pierzynski and the 1-2 pitch. There's a high drive. It's lifted out there into right center field. That ball's well hit. It's out of here. It's a home run. The second one for Adam Kennedy. And the Angels go on top. It's 3-2. Santana's 0-2 pitch is hit in the air in the right center field. Back on the ball, Dustin Moore. He hits over 3 times. The Angels lead it 6-5. We couldn't get the burn down, so he hit it out of the park.
And boy, did he hit it out of the park. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor, thrill, and pleasure to introduce to you the 2002 ALCS MVP and World Series champion. Let's welcome in Adam Kennedy. Adam, how you doing tonight?
Hey, Larry, how you doing? Thanks for having me, big guy.
Thanks for coming on. And I was gonna get to this later, but you just saw the clip that I showed, obviously, of 2002 in the ALCS. Speaking of a 3-home run game, it's not something that came difficult to you. You've done that a couple of times, or 2 or 3 times in your career, didn't you?
No, I had a couple home runs before in a game, but never three in one game. Maybe in Little League or something, but not at that level, and especially not on that stage. It was a fun time for everybody. Really, really great year for all of us. So it was a fun year.
Adam, let me ask you this. The trade deadline for Major League Baseball is coming up this Friday, and it's not new for you. I mean, you went through something similar in 2006 where there was rumors of you possibly being traded near the trade deadline. Tell the fans, because as a player, when give you an example. It's a big week for the Tampa Bay Rays. They're playing 3 games with the Yankees and then 3 games with the Boston Red Sox in their division. If you're a player on the Tampa Bay Rays and you're having a big series like that, and mentally your mind, maybe if you're a Kevin Kiermaier, is on being traded, how did you go about handling that back in 2006?
Yeah, there's a little bit of distraction based on just a little bit of outside noise. And whether you like it or not, this week may be a little tough for someone like Kevin that his name is getting floated around. Just kind of wondering while you're on the field, is your name being thrown around up in the press box with your GM to another GM? So the reality of it is there are little distractions, but everybody's professionals, and there's little distractions here and there a lot. So you really just go out there and perform. It's an important week. I think there'll be a lot of action this week. We've already started to see a little trades here and there. So I think it's going to be a fun week. I think GMs are getting a little more aggressive and risky with their moves at this point, and I'm looking forward to it.
Now, Adam, what happens if you are a player on a team, and let's say that it's close? You could make the playoffs. You might not make the playoffs, and then people say, well, I'm hearing things like this and this is the GM's mind thinking, well, if we do make the playoffs, it's going to be a wild card, but the wild card is a playing game. That's only one game. So do you risk this? Do you risk that? If you're a player on this team, obviously you want to win. If your GM decides to become a seller rather than a buyer at that time, what does that do to the mindset of the team if it's not what the players were believing?
Right. So I guess there's 3 categories, right? You're a seller, a buyer, and you can even stay put. Staying put kind of it kind of gives you guys in the clubhouse a satisfaction, a feeling of, okay, they believe in us to move forward and be able to make the playoffs with what we have. Right. So it's kind of easy. You just got to make it happen. Otherwise, there's some pressure on you guys if you don't play well the second half of the year. Sellers is tough because especially if you're a veteran player and you're playing for a contract or you're playing to win. As you get older, winning becomes quite important to you. So as an older player, you may feel a little disappointed that your team is selling off pieces for the future, and you may be one of those pieces and probably aren't going to be back next year. So being on the selling side is a little bit tougher.
I want to talk about your first hit, and it's kind of, I love it when people get that first hit over Hall of Fame pitches. It just amazes me how it's done. But you did it in unbelievable fashion because you were facing the New York Mets. Oral Hershey was the pitcher, and bases are loaded, and you hit a 3-run double. How well do you remember that moment?
Oh, very well. The day before, I had a rough go at it. We were facing Kenny Rogers, and I went 0 for 4. So, and when Tony La Russa is your manager and you don't perform, you initially go into defense mode. So the next day I knew I had to kind of gear it up. Oral at that time in his career was pretty good speed for me, mid to lower higher 80s. So it wasn't blowing too much heat at that point. But I had some good at bats and was able to kind of make up for my rough opening day.
Now, we talked about the 3 home runs in the ALCS. You obviously were in sync that game. The ball had to look bigger than a softball the way you were hitting it. That game propelled you guys to go to the World Series and win the World Series. How big was that game for you personally?
Yeah, that series I wasn't doing great. I was okay, but I think the day before I was really lost. And I remember the morning of Game 5 in the batting cages down below. We didn't take BP on the field, so we were just in the cages, and it was so bad. I just quit. I just said, this is enough. I just stopped my BP, went to the clubhouse, got ready for the game, and I just remember I was leading off the bottom of the third, I believe, and I just told Mickey Hatcher, our hitting coach, I said, I'm just going to swing at the first pitch. And he's like, go for it. And Mays threw me one right in my wheelhouse down, and I was able to put a good swing on it. And it's amazing, in sports. And when you get a little momentum and a little confidence, it kind of changes everything for you. So I was able to have a really good day. I ended up with 4 hits that day. So it was a fun day. The Big A was going crazy. We had these thunderstick things that the crowd was going crazy, and then a fun World Series.
Adam, you played for Tony La Russa, like you said, and you hear from people, a lot of different people, that he's a tough guy to play for. It doesn't seem like a lot of guys' personalities mix necessarily with his personality, but yet everywhere he goes, including right now in Chicago, he wins. What is it about Tony La Russa? Usually when a guy doesn't get along with people like that, you feel like the team doesn't have that camaraderie to win, yet they keep St. Louis, he wins. Oakland, he wins. Chicago, he wins. What is it about this guy?
Tony taught me a lot. I played for Tony 2 different times. My rookie year, and then I was traded away, and then went back to St. Louis as a free agent. So I got two different tastes with Tony, and he taught me a lot. He really did. We had our ups and downs. He taught me a lot about. And when you say some players don't like him, he likes players that are performing for him and are going to help him win that day. And if you're not going to help him win that day, he doesn't have a lot of use for you. And he's very, very tough love like that. But he taught me, every game is the biggest game of your life, and you're trying to win that day. And he really manages that way. I will say this about Tony, this year included, he has put himself in some very good positions with the teams he's gone to. He left the Chicago White Sox originally, not a very good ball club, went to Oakland where he had a very good ball club. He just went and walked in at the right time, right? And those clubs were amazing. From Oakland, he goes to St. Louis where, Mark McGwire goes with him, Ray Langford, Ozzie Smith. So he goes to another great ball club. He has a great tenure there. And now he walks into another clubhouse in White Sox where that team has been building for the last 10 years or so, and they finally got to a point last year where they made the playoffs, and they kind of turned the corner. So he walked into another good position. So as great as a manager Tony is, he's walked himself into some pretty good teams to be able to manage. Where Larry, I think me and you, we could probably do some damage with those teams as well.
Well, that's good. Adam, so we talked about the big game that had in the ALCS. Talk about playing in the World Series. I mean, you play the game, and like you said, especially as you get older, yes, you want to get those big salaries and make as much money as you can while you're playing, but it gets to a point where winning becomes just as if not more important, winning those rings. And you had that chance in 2002. Talk about that team and how fulfilling it was to win the World Series back then.
Oh, the World Series or the championship in any sport, that's what we all play for. And kind of to do it with that group of guys we had, we were all very close. We had been together for about a solid 3 years. And then some of the guys, prior to me getting there had kind of come through the system together. So they were all very close and had kind of worked, to get to this point through the minor leagues with each other and here that we all are on the big stage. And it just, all the nerves that you could ever imagine, they're there, they're real. And it's kind of a fun feeling, just the excitement of the build up to the World Series. And then, once the games start, and they just become, other games. And we always played, each game was very important. Another thing kind of Tony taught me, each game is very important. Well, if you play that way throughout the season, you kind of leave the factor of this game feels different out the door because you've kind of created that feeling with every game. So it was just an amazing feeling. San Francisco had a great team. Barry Bonds, obviously, they had a veteran staff. Dusty Baker is great. So it was an exciting trip for us, and it was really nice with them. Being in California, the travel wasn't horrible, so it was a fun series.
Now, you grew up in California, if I remember correctly. Now, let me ask you this. I always wanted to ask someone, you played a lot of your career on the West Coast, and then, of course, you moved to the Central Time Zone. Then you had an opportunity to play on the East Coast as well. Did it affect you as a player, of someone that played so many years on the West Coast, when you went to the East Coast?
No, Larry, I'll tell you what, and it's kind of cliche, but I truly lived my whole big league career really not letting any outside factors like that, regional, where I was playing, travel, anything really affect me in a negative way, because the bottom line is it's the big leagues and there's not a lot negative about it. It's wherever you have to travel, it's great travel. Whatever hotel you're in, it's a great hotel. You're in great ballparks. You're getting paid great. It's so for me personally, I never had an issue with where I was playing, the travel, anything like that. I just, it was one thing that I was really able to kind of, dispel as far as affecting me emotionally and on the field.
Now, how big was it for you, and how do you feel? You said you played in St. Louis, then you had an opportunity as a free agent, I believe it was, to sign a 3-year, $10 million deal with St. Louis. How great, it's got to be a wonderful feeling when you can sign that type of contract.
Sure. You play to get to free agency, and Anaheim had been great to me. They offered me a deal as well. I think it was a 2-year deal, but they had Howie Kendrick that was coming up through the minor leagues, and he ended up having a phenomenal career. And we all knew he would be a great hitter. He had hit all through the minor leagues, and I kind of knew he was going to be the next second baseman. So I just kind of was able to test the waters in free agency. I had a great relationship with Walt Jocketty in St. Louis, who had drafted me in 1997. So it was a great fit to go back and to play with Walt. I was in the middle window there of their World Series between 06 and 11. So I kind of missed that World Series window with them. But St. Louis is a great baseball town. I just actually took my son there about 2 months ago. We went for an event, and it was a great time.
Who was the one pitcher that you loved to face?
Oh, man. You know, loving to face guys in the big leagues is you know, I wouldn't say you love it, but you have some success. I think Derek Lowe was one pitcher I had some good success against, numbers wise. The good thing about me, Larry, is I usually hit at the bottom of the order. So sometimes those pitchers, they forget about you down there, and they sometimes I feel like they'll be able to lay one in a few times more than they would with, say, facing Mike Trout or Shohei Ohtani.
How tough was it to hang it all up? I mean, to end your career?
Oh, it's tough. You know it's coming eventually, and the one thing, you know, for me, I kind of needed all of my tools to perform at a decent level in the big leagues. And when, injuries started to take a toll on my speed or my athletic ability, it's going to be tough to kind of hang on, because I just didn't hit like one of the big boppers that could play with a little less athleticism as they did when they were younger. So I knew once my legs started I had a few injuries here and there, that it was not gonna last forever, So you really enjoy the time, and I was really grateful to be able to finish my career with the Dodgers, because that's one stadium that I always loved, and you grew up listening to Vince Scully, so that was a tremendous treat.
And you didn't stay out of the game, because you ended up opening up the Kennedy Baseball Academy. I don't know if you still have that going on or not today, but I remember hearing something that you did open up the academy. I mean, what made you decide to do that?
Well, exactly, just staying in the game. I have 3 boys, so my 2 older boys at the time were, I think, 10 and 13 or 14, so they were into baseball. So we just, a buddy of mine and myself, we opened up a nice facility and did a lot of travel ball out of there, and it was a really great time. And then my older 2 boys have kind of moved on from baseball, so now I'm doing it again with my 8-year-old, and he loves baseball. So I'm back on the travel ball scene with him, and looking forward to it. But I love being on the field with these guys, and I love coaching. So I probably will stay in the game in some aspects forever.
Well, that's good to hear. Now, let's talk about today's game. I mean, even though it wasn't too long ago that Adam Kennedy was playing baseball, boy, has the game changed over the last couple of years. I mean, the changes. I mean, we don't have to go over all of them, but what do you think about the new rules that are in Major League Baseball?
Well, the rules are one thing. The rules are kind of that's one of the things where playing on the East Coast for me, or travel, it's kind of out of the player's hands. So if I'm a player, the rule changes are really nothing I can worry about. They're really, you just kind of deal with them. They're a little funky. As a viewer, I do like the man on second base rule in extra innings. I think maybe push it back 1 inning, but I do like that rule. I think it gives a sense of urgency to score runs, because over the last 3-5 years, once we get to the extra innings, you see it every night. Everybody wants to hit a walk-off home run, and we end up in the 15th inning with a bunch of pop-ups and strikeouts. That's no fun for anybody to watch. So I do like the man on second base rule for that. The analytical side, I obviously am not a huge fan of it, but I do feel like there's a place for it in baseball, just like there's a place for, old school baseball as well. I think the two are able to merge. I think that when one front office gets too analytical driven, I don't think that is a sustainable concept and to win. The bottom line is the team with the best players are probably going to be there at the end of the year. You even take a team like Tampa Bay, who is very analytical driven. The talent they put on the field is still top notch. Their pitching staff, these guys in their arms are the reason they're there. So it's still it's a talent game, talent will usually win over, and then you play good baseball, you mix in the analytics, and I think that's your perfect marriage.
Yeah, and when you look at the game of baseball the way it is today, I understand you like the extra inning rule, but why don't teams do more of the stuff they do in the extra innings now in the 7th and 8th inning? Because it seems like in the extra inning with the guy on second base now, it seems like, wow, let's play small ball now. Let's go back to the way the game used to be played, sacrificing people over, hitting sacrifice flies, hitting the ball the other way. I mean, do you like the home run derby type game more, or did you like the small ball game more?
Well, I mean, the bottom line for me is that as a player, the small balls, if you play the game correctly and you do some of the small ball stuff to manufacture runs, the home runs will come. It's when we get so home run happy with our swing, even speaking as a hitter. If I just get in this little rut where I'm trying to hit too many home runs, I become a worse hitter, a worse all-around player. The more you do the little things, a little bunt here, a hit and run here, and then you start to feel better at the plate. Then that's when you put your best swings on the ball. Your best swings on the ball create home runs. So if it does stem down from the front office. If your front office isn't, showing how important that is, especially in the minor leagues, then they're not going to do it on the field at the big league level. I think some of the coaches are starting to, turn over the point where they want to get the cheap runs. The Boston's been better at it this year. I think Cora probably has a big input with them on that, on getting I think they put up 5 runs yesterday in the 8th without a home run, right, against the Yankees. So you see them doing it. I know Joe Madden in Anaheim talks about it a lot. The Dodgers don't do it, and they're a little bit banged up this year. It's showing. They're 1-10 in extra inning games. They've been able to get away with it the last couple of years because their talent level has just blown everybody away. And they don't do the little stuff, and it's costing them games this year because their talent level isn't as dominant as it has been the previous, 5 or 6 years.
You're out there, and you see these teams this year. West Coast baseball is definitely, especially the National League West. From what you see, Adam, there's a couple of months left in the season. Anybody you think is the favorite to win it?
Well, I mean, the San Francisco Giants won't go away.
No, they won't.
And I think they're definitely benefiting from the Dodgers not being healthy and kind of, maybe are they at the run of their, what is this, the eighth or ninth year, I believe, at the top of the NL West. So their run may be coming to an end. San Diego really hasn't hit in their stride, and the Giants just keep playing good baseball. I watched them the other day when they were in LA, and they win games and they keep the pressure on you. So the Giants are just really surprising, and unless there's a drastic change here, I don't see them giving up that lead.
Right. Last question before I let you run, Adam. You were an infielder for many, many years. What is your opinion on the shift in Major League Baseball?
I think that the hitters create the shift, right? So I don't think there should be a rule against it. I think that the hitters being good hitters will correct it itself, So if the hitters start just taking their base hits, and I think, I think over time it will start to correct itself with the launch angle stuff. Guys in the big leagues understanding that's not going to be a sustainable way to hit. I think that guys will start to reinvent themselves as good hitters, or the next generation coming up will start to realize I can really stand out. If I'm a young hitter right now, and you have bat skills, you can stand out to a team and organization, and I would do that every day of the week. You will be in the big leagues, and you won't go anywhere.
I said it was the last question. I'm sorry, there was one more.
Larry.
And I ask you this because you are a veteran player. How important now this is an opinion, of course, is it, in your opinion, for baseball players and owners to come up with an agreement by the deadline and not have a lockout next season?
A lockout would be damaging. I just think that it's, everybody has their wants and they think their needs, but the bottom line is things are going so well financially for both the owners, and they can cry wolf all they want, but the TV deals are outrageous. There's new stadiums being built, so that's not really a real issue. And player salaries are through the roof. So for a lockout, when things seem to be going pretty good on the surface, every situation, there are people feel they need new things or whatever. But bottom line is, there's a lot of money being generated. Fans are happy. I think happier right now with the state of the game. I think we have some momentum with the youth. I think a lockout would be damaging right now, and I would highly advise against it.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, I want to thank you so very, very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us on Frankly Speaking Sports tonight.
All right, you got it, man. Anytime.
All right, you be safe. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Adam Kennedy, former Major League Baseball second baseman, 2002 ALCS MVP, and 2002 World Series champion, joining us tonight. Want to thank him very, very much for his time this evening. Now, as we continue to talk a little bit baseball, I want the trading deadline is this Friday, 4 p.m., and you're going to start seeing tomorrow and Wednesday, and then, of course, Thursday, it's going to go nuts. So with a lot of activities as these teams decide what they position they're in, if they have a chance to go ahead and make the playoffs. One of the teams we're finding out, and we reported it here on Frankly Speaking Sports on our Facebook page, is that the Tampa Bay Rays are showing considerable interest in trading for former Tampa Bay Ray Charlie Morton, who now plays for the Atlanta Braves. They're trying to put a deal together. We're not sure what it includes, but they would like to have a veteran like Charlie Morton back to fill that gap right now that is voided by Tyler Glass now. Now, the Rays are very, very happy with the Patino guy who just came up. They're going to give him starts, and they say that Chris Archer in his minor league rehab is looking fabulous. So this is a Rays team who already has a lot of depth in pitching, but they would like another starter to solidify. And I couldn't think of, a better guy. He knows this team inside out. So don't be surprised, Tampa Bay Rays fans, if Charlie Morton is back in a Rays uniform by this Friday evening. And, when you look at the Tampa Bay Rays, who are right now one game behind the Boston Red Sox in the AL East, I mean, right now it looks like a two-team race there. Yankees are 8 or 9 back. But the Tampa Bay Rays, first of all, they play back-to-back series, 3 with the Yankees starting tomorrow night, then 3 with the Boston Red Sox. So by the end of the week, you're going to have a good idea how all these teams are fitting out. How the Red Sox and how the Rays, could end the season. Why the heck are you going to wait till Friday to make a move that can possibly help you in the Yankee series and the Red Sox series? If you're going to make a move and you have the ability to make this move, this is a move Eric Neander should be making right now. If you want Charlie Morton, get Charlie Morton right now so he can at least pitch one of these games versus the Yankees or the Red Sox. Don't wait on it. No one says you got to wait till 3:59 p.m. to make a move so that, you're trying to keep everybody in suspense. make the move. If you're going to make the move, these are the two biggest series of the year so far. Make the moves you want to make so that these guys can be there to affect these two series. That's what I would call smart management, if you ask me. Other than that, the Rays already got their big bat in Nelson Cruz. Now, another team looking for pitching is the New York Mets, who are going after Max Scherzer. Now, Max Scherzer has a no-trade clause contract. His contract does end at the end of the year, and he is stating that he does not want to be traded unless the team he's traded to gives him some type of extension. So we'll see how that all plays out, because he has a right to deny any trade that he chooses to deny. Excuse me, folks. I apologize about that. Give the Red Sox credit. The Red Sox are another one. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a move there as well. When you look at this team, we don't know when Sale is going to be back. They probably can use a pitcher as well. As far as the Yankees go, the Yankees obviously believe and honestly believe that they are still in the thick of things. I'm going to pull up this right now and see if I can get an update here for you folks. I know the Rays are off today. The Red Sox are losing in the bottom of the seventh inning. They're at bat with one out right now. Duran is up. It's a 1-0 count. Blue Jays are beating them 4-3. If the Red Sox lose tonight, they will have a half-game lead on the Tampa Bay Rays. Other than that, the Mets lost the first game. Remember, these are doubleheaders. They're 7-inning games. They lost the first game 2-0 as Muller beat Stroman. Tonight it's 1-0 Mets, end of fifth. So the Mets are winning that game. So when you look at some of these games, a lot going on in Major League Baseball. We'll see what happens, but there's going to be a lot of trade at the trade deadline. When you look at the teams and you look at the races, like I said, you got the Yankees are 9 games out of first place. Actually, if the Yankees lose to the Blue Jays tonight, the Yankees will move into 4th place behind the Red Sox, the Rays, and the Toronto Blue Jays. And like I said, they're losing 4-3. The White Sox have an unbelievable, comfortable lead in the Central. They have a 9-game lead now on Cleveland. And, Adam Kennedy was talking about Tony La Russa. He takes over good teams. Then he gets them to win. And that's exactly what he's doing. The White Sox 59-40 on the year. And then you got Houston with a 5.5-game lead over Oakland. And watch out for Oakland, folks. Every single year, I tell you this, they come back in the second half of the season and make a run for it. Seattle, which was playing well for so long, has dropped to 54-46 record, which is a terrific record, but they're 7 games out. If you look at the wild card right now, it looks like Tampa Bay and Oakland would hold those spots. Tampa Bay has a 4.5-game lead, I think, in the first wild card. Then you go ahead and to the National League. How about those New York Mets? Don't matter what they put on the field, they keep winning. They're 52-45. They have a 3.5-game on Philadelphia lead and 4 games on Atlanta. That's why tonight's doubleheader. I think they got 5 games in Atlanta that started today. They lost the first game. They're winning the second game. And then Atlanta's 4 games out. Central, it's Milwaukee over Cincinnati by 6.5 games, over St. Louis by 8. And then that's NL West, folks. San Francisco still has a 2-game lead on the Dodgers, and everybody was picking San Diego to win this. And don't get me wrong, San Diego has been playing some good ball. They're just stuck in an unbelievable league, division right now in the West. They're 15-44, 5.5 games behind the Giants. So when you look at all these teams, they're going to be solidifying. But, the Yankees, 9 games out, still think they have a chance. But you're going to start seeing some teams like Cleveland, Detroit maybe, Toronto, the Nationals, even the Cubbies, and Pittsburgh, maybe Colorado with Trevor Story, maybe going to the Yankees. So there's going to be a lot of action in the next couple of days. Expect it. Now, a lot of the football camps that have not opened should be opening by this Friday. So we're going to have a lot more stuff for you in the upcoming weeks. We will be back, remember, Thursday with the latest updates. We're going to have a lot. Obviously, you got the NBA draft coming up. I believe that's this Thursday night. The baseball trade deadline is Friday. And then you got an NBA free agency starting. All the football camps opening up. So an unbelievable next couple of days in the world of sports. I want to remind you all that our next Frankly Speaking Sports broadcast will be this Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We have a few guests that we're trying to line up for that evening. We don't want to announce them yet till they're 100% confirmed. We do want to go ahead and thank Adam Kennedy, former Major League Baseball second baseman, for coming on our show tonight. What a great interview. We talked some football with the Buccaneers. We talked baseball today with the trade deadline. I want to thank everybody for tuning in this evening, and we'll see you Thursday night on another edition of Frankly Speaking Sports. Good night.